Hello, my name is Richard Anthony Marca, and this is my CSC323 Video Lecture Prep 8. This time we have 7 videos, so let's see what they have in store. The first video talks about what Vertex API is. Vertex API is supposed to build and deploy machine learning models with minimal code. Also, it is to avoid infrastructure management while scaling globally, creating a unified platform that replaces fragmented machine learning tools. It talks about the churn prediction example, where an IT team wants to predict customer churn. It talks about auto ML and managed training, which uploads data to BigQuery or cloud storage. The next video talks about how to use AI into apps. It starts with addressing developers who want AI features but don't understand machine learning too well. Well, the good news is Google kind of has pre-trained model libraries where you don't need to learn as much of machine learning as you would think. Talks about using speech to text as an example of one of the APIs where it uses AI to process over 1 billion voice minutes per month. It shows how to enable the API into Cloud Console and creating a transcription workflow. This video is about the Gemini API, which is the engine that is behind the Google AI Studios. How it works is it accepts prompts and instructions and returns dynamic responses. And it can support Python, JavaScript, Go, and REST for broad integrations. Shows how to install the Gemini API libraries for whatever language you need to install the SDK. This video talks about what document AI is. The thing with documents is businesses and even schools rely on PDFs, emails, forms, contracts, but the information is not easy for machines to use. There's a lot of things called dark data that accumulates because companies store it but rarely extract value from it. You could use AI or machine learning based extraction. It requires multiple machine learning techniques: OCR, image recognition, NLP, entity extraction, translation, and more. This video is about how computer vision works. And unlike human vision, which is what we use with our eyes, computers can't really see like a human does. So when a computer sees a photo, it sees it as raw pixels with no context. So they created a way for machine learning to provide the missing context to those pixels. For example, looking at a sheepdog versus a mop to illustrate ambiguity even for humans. Talks about the convolutional neural networks, where it breaks images into small filters to detect edges, curves, and eventually full objects. And the accuracy of the convolutional neural networks improve through repeated training using loss functions and weight updates. In fact, you could even do this not only for images, but to video just by adding time. Videos require understanding how frames relate over time, which introduces the recurrent neural networks to capture temporal context. Now, this video is about the translation API, which shows how everyday users can translate languages into languages they can understand, or translate languages they know to other languages. The translation API can automatically detect over 100 languages. You would first have to enable the API, create a service account, and then assigning the translation API editor role and generating a JSON key. This key is used for authenticated API calls. It gives us an example of the first translation request using the curl, which the example it gives is from English to Hindi. Interestingly enough, proper nouns are something that are a little special. The terms like, for example, Google Cloud shouldn't be translated. And this introduces the need for custom control over domain-specific terminology. There's also a glossary feature that acts as custom directories stored in Google Cloud storage. And after registering a glossary, translations respect your specific terms. The last video is an introduction to Vertex AI Model Garden. And what is the Vertex AI Model Garden? Well, it is a unified place to discover, test, tune, and deploy Google-built and open-source machine learning models, with tight integration into Vertex AI's enterprise MLOps tooling. And the reason why it exists is to help figure out what model you would like to use for your machine learning projects. It centralizes both Google and open source models in one place. I have two additions to Vertex, which is the Model Garden and Generative AI Studio, where the Model Garden is for model discovery and workflows, and the AI Studio is for interacting with and tuning generative models. There are multiple ways to use a model. You could call it directly as an API, you could tune it in Generative AI Studio, you could use it in a Vertex AI Workbench notebook, or just deploy training pipelines. And talks about fine-tuning pipelines for models like BERT. And that Model Garden streamlines the flow from discovering a model to deploying and using it. And that is it for this video preparation. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.